Hello and welcome back to Life Rewritten. I am here today with one of my all-time favorite people, both business and pleasure-wise. Larissa Martincic is an intuitive numerologist and spiritual guide who absolutely amassed a massive over 1 million following on TikTok and is more importantly just a go-to person for me to consult with on every single life decision I make because the numbers don't lie. So hello, Larissa.
Hi, Catherine. How are you? Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy that we're doing this. I mean,
Good.
we literally could have a podcast 10 times a week because we talk so much, but
I mean, we've
we should record ourselves, right?
We do. And then I forget that we have them, right? Something a lot of people don't know about Larissa from behind the scenes is how much she's had to kind of reset after losing loved ones. And now I know I was friends with you when you lost your mom. Like we were newly friends, actually. And this was how many years ago now?
So my mom passed almost 4 years ago. 4 years
Okay.
exactly, yeah. And it was a very difficult time. You and I met in 2020
Right.
when I got on TikTok. Like, talk about spirit aligning and
No
bringing,
kidding.
us together. We became friends on social media, clicked right away, and then took it offline. And it's really interesting because to say that I've never actually physically met you, it actually feels wrong because I love you
I
so much
know.
and I feel like you know me so well. I know your children, I know your family. Like, you are truly my soul sister, and I just adore you.
Well,
So
thank you.
I said you met me when I had really taken off on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
And over that year, my mother became sick, and
Mm-hmm.
you were there every step of the way for 2 years while she was suffering and sick until she passed, and you saw kind of like the high, the low, and you were there for me trying to say, "Larissa, I see what's happening. Slow down. You need a break. It's okay to stop." But I couldn't deal with the emotions of it, and I was avoiding all of my feelings, everything, and you saw me crash big time.
Well, I think that's kind of something that is very typical in our modern day culture, at least in the States, and I'm willing to bet in Canada, and I bet a lot of other places, but I speak for here saying we kind of tend to barrel through our tough moments and we don't slow down to connect to them because then we have to feel them and be aware of them. And that's not something that a lot of us do naturally very well, I think, anymore. But it's also that it can be so overwhelming that it's easier to just shut it off. But you had lost your dad. So that was 4 years ago. How old were you when you lost your dad?
So I lost my father in 2012. I had
Okay.
my son was 2 years old at the time, and I was dealing with his traumatic birth experience, and
Right.
he was in all these early intervention therapies, physical therapy. My son had a stroke in utero. We almost lost him, which was the start of my spiritual awakening. And then over those 2 years, just really trying to be the best mom that I could possibly be. And then when my father passed in 2012, that really triggered me into this spiritual awakening, but more about a spiritual discovery. I knew we are spiritual beings having a human experience. I have grown up around spirituality. I always had, these gifts or these abilities or these conversations about numerology and astrology and the woo woo stuff, but I never did the research or the work myself.
Oh, your aunt was a master numerologist, correct?
Correct. And
And
she's
which side of the family was that on?
my dad's.
Your dad's. Okay. That's awesome.
And so my father was an only child. And this is his aunt. So this is my grandfather's sister. And she basically raised him. My grandfather
Okay.
was in the war, and my Aunt Rita raised my dad for the first few years because his father was not there and his mother was working, and so on. So he had this very special bond with my Aunt Rita. And he always made me a promise that family is everything, and that if something was to happen to him, that we make sure that Aunt Rita is connected and we keep in touch with her, check on her, go and see her. So after my father passed, I really started to question who I was, my identity. What do you mean I'm not Jimmy's daughter? Like, he's gone. Like, what is
Right.
it about me? Like, it was my father was diagnosed with lung cancer and he passed 54 days later.
Oh
So
my
I
God.
didn't even have a chance to process the diagnosis. And he was obviously going through treatment, but it took him fast. And I spiraled, and this set me on the quest for studying every book. that is about the afterlife, speaking to your loved ones, higher consciousness. I dove into it hard, and my aunt saw me spiraling. So this is when she said, Larissa, we're going to use the numbers for healing. And I would go to her every Sunday and she would teach me numerology. She would do Reiki treatments on me, which then led me to get certified Reiki 1, Reiki 2. And then I started studying numerology. And then I started implementing it into my life with my friends. And then I started learning to navigate life according to the numeric codes that we all have within our birth charts.
So this is important to know, though, is that you were born into a very Catholic family, yes?
Oh, yeah, like big
Yeah.
Italian
So
Catholic family.
exactly. So Larissa's from New York, like New York, New York, not my New York where there's cows and chickens, like New York. Okay. And so when you have an Italian Catholic New York family, that is some serious religion right there. And so for you to have, like, because I almost made the joke, like, she took you to church, but in reality, this spirituality that you leaned into, it never replaced, it supplemented, right?
Well, yes. So I was raised Italian Catholic. I went to Catholic school my entire life, elementary, middle school, and high school. Like going to church was a thing. So I was dealing with this like duality in some ways where I was being told one thing day to day of what to believe and how to believe. But even though I was going to church and being raised Catholic, my family was not very strict. Like we would be what I call the holiday Catholics.
Mm-hmm.
We went to church as a family on Easter, Christmas, the big ones. But because I was in school, I went to church every week. I studied religion. So I'm getting all this information. And then on Sundays, I would sit with Aunt Rita at my grandmother's house, and she opened me up to spiritual church, basically teaching me. My aunt taught me before I was an adolescent that whatever, I will never forget this, Catherine, and I didn't understand it until now. She said, Larissa, whatever's going on in the outside in your life is a reflection of your mind. Whatever you can think is what will be. This is what she was telling me when I was 8 years old. And I couldn't process it until I really experienced it. I think I had to go through that and all these hardships, and I had to come to her. She had a drawer that she would say, this is for Larissa, because she said my numbers were that of a healer, but I had to ask for it. She never imposed her will
Yes.
on me. And we had a very, she's still alive. I don't get to see her as much, she's 97, but our bond is pretty strong. Like when I was a little girl, we would go to Sunday dinner and I would cry just in her presence. And we talked about this, and it's because my soul had never felt so seen until I was in Aunt Rita's present. Like she saw
Yep.
me for who I was supposed to be, and she curated this. She really molded me. And I can actually say now, yes, I have deep Catholic roots, but I'm not a religious person. I'm a spiritualist.
That's interesting. I think we've had this conversation before and you still would have claimed religion. So a lot has definitely changed in the last couple of years for you.
Yeah.
So, and the reason I kind of lean into that, you were very young. Like you said your youngest was 2 and he's what, a sophomore in high school now?
He's 15 now.
Right. So you were pretty young. And I think that there's something to be, you were an adult. I understand that. But I think there's something to be said for losing a parent when you're in your 30s or your early 40s or even younger. That
Yes.
just hits so
I was about
different.
34, 36 years old when this all
Yeah.
happened.
I mean, I'm 36 and I can't imagine not having my mom or my stepdad around.
Yeah. So I lost my dad around, 36. And now my mother, obviously at like 45, 46, she was so sick. And I think to myself, I'm not even 50 and I don't have either of my parents.
Exactly. And I think that's something that I know that is something that has come up a lot for me in my social circles, where I recognize that I have both of my parents. And what a profound, honestly, that makes me want to cry. It's such a profound and huge blessing to have right now. And so when you're starting over from something like that, you had the beautiful opportunity to work alongside a family member who is so spiritually gifted and connected. But that still was a rough start. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
and so
Because
you
so
go
Aunt
ahead.
Rita would in the beginning, it was something fun. right? So every year from the age of 16, for some reason she wouldn't do it before the age of 16. My sister and I would get our charts, handed to us by
Okay.
and then, as we got older and we started to have life experiences and we started to see that the experiences on the paper that Aunt Rita was talking about was actually coming to fruition and they were actually happening, it was like the coolest thing. We thought we had this, Miss Cleo in our family kind
You
of.
kind of did.
You kind of did. And we started to go to her for things like, oh, let's bring so and so to Aunt Rita. And let's do get the numbers. And it was this fun experience. It was very easy, very natural to me. And it wasn't until I was in high school, or like late teens, early 20s, when would bring this up. I realized not everybody had an Aunt Rita. Like, you got to remember, we did not have the internet like this. We did not have phones like this.
Oh, I remember. I'm
Yeah,
not that
we
much
were
younger.
beepers. We
Yeah.
had we had payphones. Like we were
Yes.
the generation that would have to go to a payphone and be like, make a collect call to our
No,
parents to
same.
let them know we got home, like,
Yep.
or got to our friend's house or whatever. So it was a very different world. And like I used to have to go to the library to look things up. Like it's just so
Right?
crazy.
You had to use the filing cabinets to get into the Dewey
Yeah.
Decimal System. Everyone younger than the
Right?
millennials is going, what right now?
Yeah. So I realized when I would get the side eye or the weird looks or the what are you talking about? Like, oh, you guys don't have an Aunt Rita because this was 30 years ago. Like spirituality, it was not mainstream. You didn't have celebrities saying, let's manifest it. And this
No.
wasn't spoken about. It was taboo. It was do not talk about this stuff. And if you did, you were a weird person or you were a witch.
Hippie.
So, this was very much my family. And after my father died, my aunt said, Larissa, if you want to do this and do this professionally, you would be honoring my legacy because she goes, if nothing else, do it for our family so that
Mm.
all of my hard work and knowledge and wisdom doesn't die with me. And you can take this on to be this person for our family. And I felt like this passing of the torch. Like I felt
Yeah.
very honored by it, but I also was very afraid of it because now there's a level of responsibility like, oh crap, I better do Aunt Rita right. Like, I better really make her proud. What if I suck? What if I'm no good? What if I'm not as good as her? And with this, social media started to come out. Now, you have to remember, my father passed away in 2012. So from 2012, and I tell all my clients this, Catherine, and I'm sure you do as well, when we understand that we're on this quest for more, or we want to have a spiritual energy, or we want to do something in the world, it could take 2 years, 3 years, 10 years for this to actually manifest. So what started in 2010, then it really picked up in 2012. Then it started to really, really surface in about 2018. That's when I was like Reiki certified and I was going to all the astrology shops and the metaphysical shops. Did not come to light until 2020. And it was like as if the universe said, okay, bitch, now you're ready to shine. Let's go. Let's do this. And I hit the camera. I said, let's go. It's go time. And TikTok at that time was like hitting a jackpot at the
Yeah.
casino. I went from 0 followers to 50,000 followers in 26 days.
So you moved through your grief with your dad in diving into this spiritual discovery, kind of.
Yeah, I have to say, my grief with my dad was very shocking. It was very upsetting. It was life changing. But I handled his death and his grief, I think, relatively um, well. Like I really kind of I let myself feel what I needed to feel. I let myself have good days and bad days and sadness. And I'll never forget one day I was at the grocery store and I saw this man and he was smoking a cigarette. And I called my sister, hysterical, crying, like, why does that man get to live? And our dad died. And like,
Yeah.
and she's like, okay, are you upset that other people are alive? I'm like, no, but like, I'm not wishing ill upon anybody, but there was this rawness of it. But then it
Yeah.
became me, my mom, and my sister. And the three of us were bonded because we were taking care of mommy,
Hmm.
help her overcome our father's passing. And it was the girls, right? My mom would come to my house. We would have dinner 3, 4 nights a week together. She would watch my kids. And it was, okay, we got to be strong for mommy. And I think a lot of people, when you lose a parent, the other parent becomes mom and dad. So all of a
Hmm.
sudden, my mother's identity became mom and dad. Like she was everything to us. And we've been down this road before, like where we felt like as a family, we've had to like bond over tragedy or grief or things like that. And my mom's always been there for us. When I lost my mother, it was like nothing that I had felt prior because it was like I lost my dad and my mom all over again. It was like as if my dad died and my mom died. Again, I don't know how to explain it. And if you've ever lost both of your parents, anyone listening, they understand everything I'm trying to say right now. It was like as if my entire energetic cord that makes me Larissa Miranda and every tie that I have to my family was gone, wiped
Hmm.
out. Because now all I have is me and my sister. Like we are orphans. And it's this really surreal feeling. And at this time, we had just gotten out of COVID. Life was starting to open up again, and people were really kind of living and going back to normal. And I refused to stop. I buried myself into my work. I was doing anywhere from 8 to like sometimes 16 readings a week. I was running around with 3 kids, high school sports. I just did not stop. And it was kind of like, nope, I don't want to cry. Nope, I don't want to feel that pain. Nope, I'm not going to journal. And I would just push it further and further and further down. And then I got really sick.
These were things that you were adamantly regular with, though, journaling and the meditation and staying focused
Yeah.
on like staying, no matter how busy your exterior life was, you were in the energetic spiritual care of yourself always.
Yeah.
And
And
that was
I
something that
did
got
the
stripped
opposite.
away.
Which was so crazy because you would think now, here I was, someone who was like a spiritual person, a spiritual teacher, guide, professional spiritual person. You would think I would have known better. And it was,
No.
I was like, you know what? The rules don't apply to Larissa. I'm going to ignore the numbers. I'm going to ignore what my intuition is saying. I am going to ignore all the spiritual principles that I teach and, really believe in. And I'm just going to push through and I'm going to make sure all of these emotions are not dealt with. and I,
No vulnerability. Yeah.
yeah, I really crashed big time. And maybe I needed to learn that lesson. I don't know. I do know that I think the hardest part about losing my mother was that I didn't feel her and I was angry.
I remember that.
I should have felt her. Like, wait, I do this for a living. Why can't I feel you? And that really, really pissed me off big time.
Yeah. I think people, especially us, we assume that just because you're more than it's not like just the numbers with you. You're very much connected to the other side. You can communicate with spirit on the other side. You can feel them. I know that. And so when you lose someone and you have that mediumship connection, you almost, I think people, like, I don't want to say like the normies, so to speak, but the people who don't do that, they expect that like, oh, well, you can still feel them and communicate with them, but it's not that simple. And it's
No.
almost, I would say, more difficult because you want it so badly that you can't see it even when it is in front of you, even when you do get the signs.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of it.
So when I started to really say, okay, Larissa, girl, come on, like get your shit together. Um, and I started to really focus on my healing. Then all the signs, the intuitive connection came back, all of it came back. Um, because I was now ready to feel, ready to see, ready to hear, to sense. Prior to that, after her death, I was just like, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. I was lying to myself, and I think the thing about a spiritual journey that people don't understand is no matter where you are on your spiritual journey, it's all about truth. It's all about this raw, real, honest energy between you and your guides, and you can't fake it. You can't hide your emotions. Am I making sense? I don't know if I'm
Yes,
making sense.
because that's exactly it. That is the point I was just going to make actually, is that this is something a lot of people will say to me, especially in a mediumship reading. They'll be like, "Oh my God, why can't I see them? Or why don't I feel them?" And it's because what you just said, you're not ready to feel your grief. And if you shut off the grief, you shut off the joy, you shut off the fun, you shut off the happiness. And so you're numb because you just keep steamrolling through your day to day life to just get through it and survive and get through it and survive. And there's no room for feelings and survival. If you were to get a sign from your loved one and acknowledge it, you're going to have some feelings come up. So you've blocked that out and now you can't feel it because you're numbed out instead.
I think grief and love are the same.
I think they are too.
Everything about numerology teaches us about duality, and everything in the universe is about duality and highs and lows. Like what I've learned about karma, what I've learned about energy is you can't eliminate one thing so that you could have more of something that's in the positive. There's a fine line between that shadow and that light.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's about eliminating the shadow side. I think it's about understanding how to use the shadows so that you can have more light, that you can experience more light. I actually think that the shadow of the soul is where the light comes from, like in some crazy way. You know, um, like look at us, right? Here we are, we're on social media, we put ourselves out there, we show people the best of us, but we also show people the worst. Like, look at this conversation. We're having a really raw conversation where I've struggled over the last few years after my mom passed. I'm being as real as I can be. I am showing you and our communities that it can't all be light. There is darkness. And I think my generation, especially, we were taught you don't talk about that. You don't talk about
Right.
what's going on behind closed doors and keep that private. And I think that's wrong. I think the more we talk about the pain, the more opportunities for light the soul can experience. Like, I wish looking back, I would have shared my grief journey publicly. I wish I would have just recorded a video and said, I'm really struggling today, guys. I need help. Or like, I would have used it maybe in a way that I could have brought more people in. As a,
You weren't ready yet.
it wasn't. But
No.
I did this. I said, go away, everybody. Like, just go away.
But in some ways you honored your not being ready by diving into other areas as well. Do you feel like that vulnerability was your turning point when you finally started realizing that you have to feel more? Do you know, was there a specific time that you remember like looking at life and being like, fuck, I gotta snap out of this?
So I would say year one after my mom's passing was a blur.
Yeah.
Two actually hurt worse. It was a little bit more raw. I think year three is where I made peace with her passing. I let go of the anger that I had. Like, I literally felt like she just left. Like, I felt like she chose to leave. So there's a story here. My mom never went to the doctor, never took care of her health. She was a longtime smoker. Um, Even after my father was diagnosed with lung cancer, 12, 13 years ago, she still kept smoking. And my mom used to always say, nothing good comes after 70. I don't want to live past 70. And I was like, Mom, you're going to manifest that. Like, stop it. Like, you really want to leave us after 70? Like, what are you talking about? That's so young. And my mom died at 70. Like, I literally was like, you manifested this. Like, you should have fought for another 5 years or 6 years or 10 years. Like, why did you leave me? What, wasn't I worth it? Wasn't my sister worth it? Your grandchildren? But in reality, I understood that that was her time. Like, she's not here for me. She was here for her path.
Yeah.
She did everything she could. She raised us a certain way. She instilled beliefs in us that go on way beyond her. And like, once she passes, it's still within us. And I literally just made peace and forgave her for making certain choices in her life. And I learned that it's okay that she's not here. Maybe my life path is to be without her. Like, so here's another interesting take. I believe the soul chooses its parents. I believe the soul chooses its name, its birthday, its energy, its karma, all of it, right? So if I have two parents that died at 70, my dad died at 70 and my mom died at 70, there's no coincidence in that. My soul chose this experience to learn to live without parents for most of my adult life. Maybe there's lessons here that I have to learn. Maybe I have to learn to be more independent. Maybe I have to learn autonomy. I don't know. But what I'm trying to say is that this is the path, and this is what's been given to me. I can't control what has happened. I can't control the passing of my loved ones, but I can control how I respond to it. And I feel that I owe it to my parents and anyone else that, if they're listening, we owe it to our loved ones who have crossed to live each and every single day like it's a gift to our fullest. Yes, there's going to be bad days, but we owe it to them to experience joy, happiness, love, success, all of it as much as possible. That's what I feel. I don't know.
Could not agree with you more. Absolutely could not agree with you more. You have, I don't know why I feel called to ask you this. If you don't want to share it, then feel free not to. But there was a really interesting story after your mom passed about you were on vacation and you wanted to see a sign from her, right? And
Oh,
the,
yeah.
the
Yeah.
phoenix, the tattoo or the shirt?
So here's what's interesting. I believe I had two parents that passed, and I had two very good death experiences. What does that mean? So my father, I actually was not present when uh, he basically had a blood clot, that, pulmonary embolism. They got him on life support. Make a long story short, I got back to New York in time. Me, my mom, and my sister were with him while we were able to take him off life support, and we were with him, sending him over to the other side with love as he took his last breath. And let me tell you something, okay? While my father was in a coma and on all this medication, laying there, they were waiting for me to get back. And when I got back and I walked into that hospital and the elevator doors opened and my whole family was there, I just crumbled to my knees with like blood curling, screaming cries. Like, I had just traveled from Croatia. I've been on a plane for like 18 hours. Get me to my daddy. And I just lost it. In that moment, my father was in a coma on life support. My father goes into a full on seizure, trembling on the bed to the point where my sister is throwing her body on him to calm him down. My mother runs out because she does not want me to see him like that. And my sister, it took her 3 months to tell me this. She looks over and there were tears coming down the man's eyes. He heard me, he felt me, and he waited for me. And I believe that. Now, I was able to hold his hand with my sister and with my mother. We were there while he took his last breath. That's an honor, and not everybody gets it, especially after what we went through is as globally in this pandemic.
Yeah.
I am honored that I was with him. Now, my mother, she suffered with kidney disease for 2 years and cancer, and make a long story short, palliative care. She was there for 5 days. We were with her. We had very good conversations. And in the end, my mother said, "It's okay. You're going to be okay without me. You're going to make me, I'm proud of you every single day." Like, we got to have these conversations. And I feel very honored that that is how I was able to say goodbye to my parents. So, anyway, my mother passes. Now, we had a trip booked to Aruba. Obviously, my husband and I will usually book our summer vacation somewhere between January, February, March, 6 months earlier. So at this time, my mother was, you know, she wasn't going anywhere. She was
Right.
actively receiving dialysis, but was doing well. So my mother passes. We have this trip. My husband says, "Larissa, we're supposed to go to Aruba in 2 weeks after the funeral. Now we have two choices. We can cancel and lose some money. We can maybe rebook it and, still lose some money." He's like, "Or we go, let our kids be free on the beach, and you can cry in the sand and the water. Like there's no reason for us to be in this house, and let's just try to make the most of it as a family. So we go, and obviously I was in a fog. Obviously I was not myself. And we were there for about 2 days. And I'm reading a book called oh gosh, I actually have it. It's a book about the afterlife. And it hit me. Oh my God. For the first time in my life, I have nobody to call home to. No one to say, I landed. I'm here safe. Love you. And I lost my shit. I started crying on that beach chair like I have never cried before. And I was pissed and I was mad. And I said, Mom, I want a sign that you know I am here in Aruba, that you see me, that I am okay. Like, I need to know that, like, I can still call you. And I'm like, that's it. I'm going to get a drink because I love a good drink. So I start to walk into the
Discuss.
pool, right? And I'm wiping my tears. Like I am visibly crying. And I could see my husband at the pool bar. And I'm walking to him. And all of a sudden, this man steps in front of him. So now he's shoulder to shoulder with my husband. And on his arm is this giant tattoo of a butterfly and all these things. And it says, in loving memory, Linda. My mother's name is Linda. I lose my mind and I start hysterical crying in the middle of the pool. And my husband has no idea why. He comes running over to me and I am like sobbing, like snot crying, like ugly crying. And I'm like, man, oh, and I'm pointing. And the man can see me. Like I'm literally pointing at this guy. I'm like, his heart, his tattoo, the sign. And he comes over. He's like, is everything okay? Did I do something? So now I have to calm down and tell them the
He's
story.
like, I didn't touch her.
Yeah. So he's hugging me. My husband's hugging me. The
Oh,
man, that was his wife. He was actually there as part of like a bereavement community of widows and widowers who have lost their loved ones. And this was their yearly meeting. Now they all come in the pool and they're like, it's okay, honey, she's with you. That's a sign. And we're all like having margaritas and tears. You know, it was really funny. But,
that sounds like a good
you know,
bereavement group as well.
yeah, right. But honestly,
Oh,
I don't doubt the signs, and I know that their energy is there, and I know they're doing their work from above. And I know that grief is a process, and I know that it's ongoing and never ending. And for all those people out there who have lost loved ones, some days it just sucks, and some days you're mad, and some days you're pissed. It doesn't mean you don't believe in the afterlife, but some days we just want them in this life, you know?
yes.
And you are feeling that. That is when you must speak to them. You must ask for the sign. You must demand it. I mean, literally, my mom is strong because that took what, 30 seconds for that sign to happen?
You yelled at her.
I was like, bitch, where are you? No, and I don't mean to curse, but I'm a cursor.
You're good.
And my sister and I, we have this joke, like we'll just be sitting around, we're having Sunday dinner because we still do that. I'm like, oh my God, the bitch left us. We're like, she left us. How dare she? Like, and my sister's like, yeah, our parents are jerks. They're gone. It's on. You know, we make light of it, but in some ways, obviously grief is not something to make light of, but you have to find
But
the.
it is. Yeah.
Do you want to see another sign that's sitting right in front of my face?
Hmm.
Okay, so I hope you show this to your viewers. So this is a card. It's a birthday card. It says, for my all-star grandson. Now, a few years back, we had a flood. And in my basement, which is right behind that door, the garage, everything, this whole basement was flooded. I mean, there was just those plastic containers that I had like all the photos and things stacked, gone, destroyed. Make a long story short, we're cleaning out the garage. And it happened to be my son's birthday, so we're cleaning it out again, and like it was a process. It was my son's actual birthday, and I was really missing my mom. And I was like, Mom, I just wish you could see him, because that was her buddy. Like that was her person. And my son helped her get through the grief and the passing of my father because she put everything into my son. And he's the youngest of 6 grandchildren. So I said, Mom, I really just wish you could see him. You would love his personality, and like, let me know you're with us today. So as we're moving the totes, this card falls out. It's completely perfect. It's not ruined. And it's a birthday card from my mother to my son. And it says, for an all-star grandson, hope you score an awesome birthday. To my buddy, love you always, Grandma.
Mm,
Now, I could have found this any other day. I don't save cards. I don't
right.
know why this card was saved. I have no clue. But I found it on his actual birthday, and I was throwing out things that were wrecked and molded and disgusting from water. And here's this card, perfectly preserved. So I keep it on my desk as a reminder that yes, we can ask for the signs. The signs are available if we ask. But this is the reminder that spirit is energy, and your souls, your departed loved ones, never, ever leave us.
You don't.
And I always give the example of the radio dial, which we've talked about before. If you're listening to, let's say, hip hop, you're listening to hip hop music. Does that mean country music doesn't exist? No, it just means you're not tuned into it, and you can't hear the country music because you're not on the country music station. You're not on the country music frequency. And that's what spirit is. It's another station. And if you want to hear messages from your loved ones and you want to feel them, you literally have to tune into spirit. And how do we do that? Gratitude, um, joy, nature, meditation, music, art, anything that puts you in a receptive energy.
It's so much more simple than I think a lot of us try to make it, right? Well, do you have any
Yeah.
last advice for anyone who loses parents or a parent or both parents at a younger age? Because I think it is different. And like you said, you have no one to call.
Yeah. So, my advice would be to broaden your community. I think when you're going through the grief of a loved one, the worst thing you can do is isolate yourself. I mean, there's going to be a time period where you're going to be pulled away, but you can't stay there too long, because if you do, it will hurt you, the soul who's here and who needs to live. So I would say reach out, find that sense of community, dive into finding your spiritual truth, start some hobbies, focus on health and healing, focus on community, friendship, writing, anything that allows the emotions to come out. Because sometimes maybe you don't feel like talking about your grief, but maybe just listening to other people who are going through tragedy or trauma or grief, it actually heals you. I just think that anytime we can find a connection with other people who are going through similar experiences, it's healing and therapeutic.
I agree. I think that's beautiful advice. Well, Larissa, this is definitely a different side of you than we normally connect with. And I'm really grateful for you allowing me to let you be, or allowing me to let you be, for being vulnerable with us on the show and talking about it, because I think you're really like bright eyed and bubbly and joyous and joyful person. And to know that people who vibe kind of like you and I do are still going the hell through it, I think it really helps others to know that they're not alone in that. So thank you for being on here with me and talking about such vulnerable things.
Yeah, I believe in the spiritual sense, right? That whoever's supposed to work with me, or you, Catherine, you will find me. We do not seek out any of our clients; they come to us. But I think the thing that's really important for people like you and I is we need to share more about why we do what we do, how we do what we do, and what we do can help you. So all I'm going to say is that whether it's a mediumship reading, intuitive reading, astrology, numerology, whatever it is, these tools are available to you to help you gain clarity when you're confused, to gain direction when you're lost. Nobody comes to me when life is good. They come to me when they are looking for strength, strategy, and purpose. And
Yeah.
I hope that one day I can provide that for anyone that comes to me. So you can find me at Goddess Giving on my social media or thegoddessgiving.com. And yeah, my face is kind of all over the place. So just
She's
check it out.
everywhere. You find me, you find her. That's for sure. Thank you for being on with us. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, guys.
I love you.